This video shows cubs being displayed in a mall by one of Joe Schreibvogel's entities. The cubs have severe diarrhea. Instead of removing the sick cubs from the display, Joe's workers just keep wiping the floor and then wiping the poor cubs' bottoms over and over. You can see the cubs' red, sore bottoms. Listen to the cubs squeal. The squeals are likely caused by pain as their raw bottoms are wiped repeatedly. Witnesses tell us that at least 3 of the cubs had diarrhea and were subjected to this treatment continuously during the exhibit. They should have been removed to a quiet place where they could sleep and their immune systems could fight the illness. But in a traveling show like this, where would that be? Out in the semi-trailer they live in when not caged in the mall? 23 of Joe's cubs died in 2010. He blames the formula, but no other facilities have reported problems with the formula. Cubs this age need extended time to sleep, just like human babies. They should be allowed to sleep and awaken naturally. Here, if they do manage to fall asleep amidst the noise and activity, they are awakened so people who pay can pet them. Here on stage, the cub wants to pursue its natural inclination to explore, which it would be able to do if it were living in a proper environment instead of being carted around from mall to mall. Repeatedly restrained, it struggles and screams in protest. Under USDA policy, you are not allowed to have contact with the cubs unless they are between 8 and 12 weeks old. The 8-week rule is to protect the cubs from disease because 8 weeks is when they receive their first inoculations. When asked how old the cub is here, the exhibitor admits it is only 5 weeks old.
He's only 5 weeks old.
Here they are clearly violating the USDA rule, but there simply is not sufficient enforcement. So, exhibitors frequently use the cubs before the legal age, exposing them to disease, and often after the legal age when they become more dangerous. It is not natural for the cubs to be held up by grabbing them under the arms. One exhibitor, who uses cubs she obtains from Joe, recently claimed that this is how the tiger mothers hold the cubs. How in the world would they do that? Being held this way for an extended period of time puts uncomfortable pressure on their young bodies as their entire weight is suspended from their armpits. Bouncing the cub up and down adds more discomfort. The reason you don't hear the cub screaming is because it is difficult for the cub to breathe when held this way. The close flash of cameras results in permanent partial blindness in many because the cub's eyes are still developing at this age. When being held, the cubs struggle to get away, clearly uncomfortable. Here you see the worker take the struggling cub and tell the patrons that she is going to reset the cub, admitting the cub feels stress.
Let me reset. I need a break and she feels my stress.
This reset idea is absurd. This is not a clock or a modem that you reset. If being held under the arms is uncomfortable, think how much more uncomfortable it is to be bounced up and down repeatedly. The cub is being punished. The only thing the worker is right about is that the cub feels stress. Here you can see the worker blowing directly in the cub's face. Mother cats do this to discipline their cubs. It is a way they signal that the mother is angry and telling the cubs to stop whatever behavior they are doing. Take any domestic cat and blow sharply in its face and see what happens. This is not a calming technique, it is a reprimand. This is done over and over during the exhibit to try to make the cubs be still for guests. Being still is totally contrary to their natural inclinations, and the roaming and exploring and using their muscles that they should be doing at this age for their natural, healthy development. Here you see the cub chewing on a shoe, a health hazard. Here you see Joe talking to a person who we are told was defending the cubs by objecting to the display. He points to the display repeatedly. Yet he now claims that because the display is under Beth Corley's license, he has nothing at all to do with it. Here you see the cubs subjected to multiple people groping at them at the same time. Joe recently bragged that he made a record $23,697 in 5 days from the cubs display. Think about how many people would have had to handle these cubs to generate that amount of revenue. Imagine if you were the mother of these cubs. Is this the life you would want for them? And what happens to these animals after they reach 12 weeks of age and can no longer be used for display? Most will end up spending their entire lives in small cages, many in squalid conditions. Managers of malls and other venues who permit this display are, often without realizing it, enabling the abuse of the cubs and a life of horror for them after they cannot be used to make money. If venues refuse to allow these displays, the breeding and abuse would stop. If you see a display like this, or hear of one coming to a mall near you, please stand up for these poor cubs by politely informing the venue of your objection to the display. After people like you voiced their opinions, PetSmart in 2010 banned such displays at their US and Canadian stores, and a growing number of malls have now banned these displays. For more information on Joe Schreibvogel and others who abuse animals, visit 911animalabuse.com. To receive alerts on these and other issues where voicing your opinion can help, become an advocate at catlaws.com.